Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Julie Perry, one of the coordinators of the lecture and travel programs, and I want to first of all say thank you so much for your support this season. This is our last and final lecture, and it's kind of bittersweet. I was just saying to the folks in the hallway, this is sort of sad. It's our last one for the season, but good news, next week we're starting planning for 2020, so can't wait to present our program for next year. I'm just curious, by a show of hands, how many of you have attended our series this season? Thank you. Wonderful. As I suspected, probably about 90%. Thank you so much for your support. We are truly blessed and honored to have you here. Couple things, please, if you will turn off your cell phones or mute them right now. Thank you. I'll take a minute before everybody does that. Please put them on mute.
Me too? Okay.
Some new things that you're going to see around the library. First of all, we are in the beginning stages of a pop-up book sale. That's going to be right outside by the honor bricks. You'll see a pull-out shelving. They're all hardback books for $2 if you want one. Just put your $2 in as a donation. We appreciate it. So you'll see more signage on that, but we figured why not have books available all year round. They're beautiful hardcover books, so feel free. Liz Williams, our supervisor here at the library, has shown me some great programs that we wanted you all to be aware of. Beginning next week, every Wednesday during April and May at 3 p.m., if you want to learn how to play a ukulele, feel free. You will need to bring your own ukulele or reserve one through the library. In fact, there was a gal here earlier already reserving her ukulele. So feel free and see the staff if you're interested. Now, during next week, the 27th, it's a Wednesday between 2:30 and 5:45. If you have kids or grandkids between the ages of 8 and 17, they are having a manic magician. It's going to be an escape room. Have you heard of those? They're setting them up all over. In this room. This room is going to be fully transformed into an escape room. So if you have family coming in, have them come join us and have fun. These are more people like coming in. Have a seat. All right, everybody. With my sincere pleasure, I'm pleased to introduce our last and final speaker. In all honesty and forthrightness, this has been a lifelong friend of mine for over 35 years. Joe Arena.
And we're only 38 years old.
He totally lies. You know, we met when I first started working in my career back those years ago, and he started off as an IT programmer. And I admire Joe so much because he has literally transformed his life. You know when you just want to follow your dreams, and some people do it, but some people don't? Joe has done it. Joe and his wife Cheryl have traveled over 40 countries worldwide. Joe is also a photographer, fun photographer, but he's also a lover of critters big and small. And he's traveled, I think his most preferred passion is to travel the Amazons. And I know I'm gonna mess this up, but let me do this. He's been to rainforests in the Amazons, into Southeast Asia, and through Central America. And with his passion of photography and critters big and small, he is going to share with you his magical world of the Amazons in the rainforest today. So I know you're going to enjoy him thoroughly. Joe is also a second career, went on to work at the Rochester Zoo, the Seneca Park Zoo. So he loves animals, insects, birds, and he's followed his heart. So with my dear pleasure, I want to introduce my friend, Joe Arena.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming. And I want to thank the Friends of the Library System for getting me out of Rochester, New York, because we had that much snow when we left, and I think my feet are just starting to defrost. But as Julie says, I had a career in computer programming, 35 years in computer programming. The last 5 years that I was working, I got involved with our local zoo as a docent, as a volunteer docent. And then when I retired, I was lucky I was able to retire at 55. There was an opening in our education department, so I said, I can do that. So what I do in the summertime is I work on the zoo proper, and we do programs. I'm at the sea lions, and the keepers are training the sea lions, and I'm telling people what they're doing and what they're eating and how long they live and all that kind of stuff. So we do that with all the different animal exhibits. And then in the wintertime, when our summer programs end, we have something called the Wegmans Zoomobile. Wegmans Supermarket sponsors a Zoomobile, and we've got a van that we take out all sorts of fun animals. We've got snakes and birds and mammals and insects and other bugs, and we take them into nursing homes, we take them into Cub Scout groups, elementary schools, and I have learned so much just from my osmosis from all the keepers in the zoos. So I hope you enjoy the program today. Again, the rainforest is my passion, and I want to blame this guy for my love of nature. Sunday evenings when I was a kid, the whole family would gather around the black and white console TV, and Marlon and his buddy Jim would travel all over the world to exotic places, photographing incredible, incredible animals. And as a kid, I said, boy, I would love to be able to visit just one of those crazy places that Marlon went. And as I said, I've been very, very fortunate to have been traveled all over the world, seeing different wildlife in different natural habitats. And again, I want to thank this man for it. He's just incredible. Before we start today, whoops, where we go here, hello. There we go. Okay. The Amazon jungle, Amazon rainforest, touches about 9 different countries in South America. I have been to Peru, I've been to Ecuador several times. Next year I'm going to Bolivia. Brazil is still on my list. There's an incredible place called the Pantanal, where it's the best chance to see a jaguar. So I've never yet seen a jaguar. But this is the area that we're going to be talking about today. And I want to do just a level set before we start. This is the only definition we're going to be talking about today, because we're going to keep this nice and light. But an adaptation, because I love talking about adaptations, what these animals have evolved, what special characteristics they have that have allowed them to be so successful for millions of years. So an adaptation is simply a characteristic of a species that has evolved over a long period of time to let that species take advantage of a particular unique situation in nature. We humans, we've got 2 great adaptations. We've got these opposable thumbs. With these thumbs, millions of years or thousands of years ago, we were able to pick up a stick. We were able to throw that stick at an animal and get some food. We were able to defend ourselves with a club. Now we can pick up a hammer, we can build. Not many animals in the world have that opposable thumb. That's a huge adaptation for us humans. The other is a big, big brain of ours. With this brain, we can think, we can communicate, and we can build something like this library to change the environment to more suit ourselves. Animals and plants in the Amazon rainforest have been evolving and have been building these adaptations for millions and millions of years. And we're just going to go through a couple of them. And again, I hope you enjoy what we're talking about today. The first adaptation we're going to talk about, give a couple examples, is adaptations to obtain food, because everybody needs to eat. But food is very, very scarce in the jungle, and you've got to be very specific on how you can get your food. The first instance we're going to go through is one, excuse me, I'm sorry. is one that you're all familiar with, and that's the toucan. And this is a chestnut-billed toucan. And they've got two great adaptations. They've got that wonderful, wonderful long beak, and it's tough to see on the picture, but they've got some incredible toes. The beak allows them to reach fruit that normally any other bird with a smaller beak wouldn't be able to get. So maybe a million years ago, this toucan would have had a beak about that long. But then one was born, and that beak was just a little bit bigger, just natural, the way things happen in nature. That animal was more able to succeed, and more able to survive, and more able to reproduce. So then, that little bit longer beak was passed on to the next generation. Multiply this over millions and millions of years, and you get the chestnut-billed toucan. That beak is also a great radiator for him, because if he gets too hot, he's going to pump a lot of blood from his warm body into the blood vessels in that beak. They are very, very close to the surface. If there's any kind of a breeze at all, that's going to cool down that blood, bring it back into his body, and cool him down. His toes are another incredible adaptation that he shares with parrots, and they're called zygodactyl toes, or zygodactyl feet. And it means something in Latin, and I forgot what it was years and years ago. But what it is 2 toes in the front, 2 toes in the back. And that allows him not only to latch on very, very tightly, but he can flip completely underneath. And he can hang upside down to grab food that otherwise would not be available. He also uses that large beak, by the way, to go into nests to steal little chicks and eggs. So he's not the nicest bird in the world, but that's what they are in Mother Nature. Now the next animal we're going to see, we're all familiar with, spiders. And what do all spiders do? They build nests, right? Well, nests are great. They capture food, but webs have a little liability, because webs are big, and it's like a big target saying, you are here. So any bird that's hungry for a spider, they'll look for that big web, and they're going to say, oh, it must be a spider out there. Also, webs are very expensive to produce. They take a lot of energy, a lot of resources. You've got to eat a lot to produce that big, big web. Well, this next animal, through evolution, took care of that problem. And this is a net casting spider. This is a note, if you see something like photo LXI, that means I did not take it, I wasn't good enough to take that. So I just want to give credit to the photographers. But this animal builds a very, very small web and holds it between his front 4 legs. And then when it defines a target, we've got a short video of this, it's just going to drop down and capture it. Another adaptation that this spider has, that very few spiders have, is these big, big eyes. Spiders have 8 eyes, but generally there are 2 rows of 4. They're about this big, and they can barely make out shades and movement. But this animal has evolved very large eyes. It's a nocturnal animal, so it can see well at night. And you're going to see in this next video how the net casting spider captures its prey. And this was taken from DJ's Nature Planet, to give him credit. Now watch, watch, watch. It is going, but don't blink. And there we go. Boom. So minimal net, minimal resources, and he's not advertising, he or she is not advertising to the world, here I am, come eat me. Okay. This is Doug. Doug lives with, well, doesn't live with me at the Seneca Park Zoo, but he's one of our education animals. He's one of the animals that we take out on programs. And he's a 3-banded armadillo, and he's got some incredible adaptations to find some food. Very, very big ears, and that helps him to hear his predators. His eyesight is terrible. He's a nocturnal animal, but it's very, very, very bad eyesight. But that nose of his, he can sniff out an anthill or a termite mound better than probably any other animal. And he's got those big, big, sharp, sharp claws on the front. There are 2 claws on each of his front 2 feet. And he's going to use those, tear open an anthill, tear open a termite nest, and then he's got a small tongue that's going to come sticking out of his mouth, barely opens his mouth, the tongue's going to come slurp up those ants. Now the ants and the termites aren't going to say, go ahead, eat the whole colony, we don't care. No, they're going to fight back, and they're going to try to bite him. But one, he's got that big, heavy shell on his back, made of keratin, so the ants and termites aren't going to be able to bite him through there, so they're going to go for a soft underbelly. But if you notice, he's got all this hair down here. He's a mammal. All mammals have hairs, but they're not to keep him warm. I mean, he lives in the rainforest. You don't have to worry about being cold in the rainforest. They're to protect him from the ants and the termites. Let's suppose that my hand is the hairs of the armadillo, and you got a termite coming here to try to bite him. Well, it's gonna take a while for that termite to get through that mass of hair before it can finally get to his body and bite him. By that time, he's had enough food to eat. He'll say, whoop, lunch is over. He's gonna mosey on down. And this way, he gets something to eat, but the anthill of the termite mound is not decimated. So it's a great balance in Mother Nature. That's all Mother Nature is. It's all about balance. Okay, now put yourself into a position here. You're on your porch. It's a beautiful, cool evening, 60, 65. You get your glass of your favorite beverage in your hand, a little light just over the door, and those stupid moths are back and forth to the lights, right? Because insects are attracted to lights. Well, this next animal is going to take advantage of that. And this is a Peruvian click beetle larva. This animal primarily stays underground. Right up here, you can see mandibles or claws in each of these two guys. And this animal has the capability, through bioluminescence, like a firefly, to light himself up or herself up. So it's going to be dark. It's going to start glowing. Some insect's going to come by and say, hey, what's going on down there? I'm going to check this out. And before you know it, those mandibles are over it, into the ground. If you were to take one of these animals out, these larvae out, they don't glow because they're smart enough, or not smart enough, it's done by instincts, but they're evolved enough so that the bioluminescence stops. So if you were to walk by this at nighttime, you'd never see them. Mother Nature is just an incredible, incredible woman. Snakes. Anybody here like snakes? Couple? Okay. I never was a big snake person until I started working at the zoo, and then I just fell in love with them because of everything that they have and everything that they do. This is, I was in Costa Rica, and this little bugger was slithering around near the mess hall, and some of the workers were afraid of it, so I said, I can take care of it. It's just a boa, non-venomous. But snakes, for an animal that has no legs, no ears, they have been successful for millions and millions of years and really haven't changed all that much. But they've got some incredible stuff going for them. As I said, they've got no ears. There's not a snake in the world that can hear anything. That's the difference between a snake and a lizard. Lizards have ears, snakes don't have ears. What they have instead of ears is a very, very sensitive jawbone. So sensitive that if this boa is lying on a branch, it can feel the vibrations of a bird landing on that branch. If he's lying on the jungle floor, he can feel the vibrations of a mouse walking. Incredible sense of sensation of vibrations. But then all he's going to know is that something's out there, because vibrations are not two-dimensional. So that's where he relies on that forked tongue of his. He doesn't smell the way we smell, but he uses that tongue to taste the air. He's going to stick his tongue out. He's going to grab those same air particles that you and I inhale in our nose, and those air particles are going to stick to his tongue. It's going to go inside the roof of his mouth, and there's an indentation in the roof of his mouth. It's called the Jacobson's organ, and that is how he's going to literally smell. Now, the tongue is forked for the same reason we have two nostrils. This animal is capable of smelling left and right. So he's going to feel the vibrations. He's going to know something's out there. He's going to stick his tongue out. He's going to say, oh, I smell a mouse, but I smell more of the mouse on the left fork of my tongue, so I'm going to know that the mouse is coming from this direction. Then it's going to use its camouflage, stay very, very still, keep sticking the tongue out, keep feeling for those vibrations. When the mouse gets closer, he's going to go back into attack mode, strike mode, and then before you know it, boom, he's going to have that mouse in his mouth. If you look at the teeth of this animal, they are the two fangs. This is not a venomous animal. This is a constrictor. But those teeth face backwards, about 45 degrees. And that's on purpose so that when he bites that mouse, if that mouse struggles to try to get away, the teeth are going to get further and further embedded in the mouse. So when he catches something, it's going to stay caught. He's going to wrap his body around it. Now, he's not going to suffocate the mouse. A lot of people say they suffocate. That would take too long. Instead, he squeezes it so hard that the heart stops. And of course, when your heart stops, the rest of you stops as well. He's going to put that mouse in his mouth, head first, swallow it whole. Now, I've got a question. How many people here like cotton candy? Anybody like cotton candy? A little bit. Okay, if I told you, sir, to take a whole ball of cotton candy shove it in your mouth, and keep it there for 2 hours. Do you think you'd be able to breathe?
I don't think I can do it.
I don't, yeah, and I know you wouldn't be able to breathe, because we breathe through our throat. Well, the snake is gonna take about 2 hours to get that mouse from his mouth into his stomach. So he's got this little device down here, it's called a glottis, and that's a hard tube with calcite material, and that's gonna always stay open. So as he's swallowing that mouse for that long period of time, he's always gonna have an air hole feeding his lung. They only have one lung. So they're just incredible, incredible animals. Now, animals aren't the only species that need to adapt to get what they need to survive. Trees need to adapt to be able to get sunlight, because all trees need sunlight. The problem is, in the rainforest, 90 to 95% of the sunlight is absorbed at the canopy or the emerging level. Very, very low of that's going to get back down to the jungle floor. So if you're a tree, you want to get as high as you can and as quickly as you can so that you can get that sunlight, because being down here is not going to help you very much. First tree does it by brute force. This is the kapok tree. This tree can grow up to 200 feet. It can grow 13 feet a year, maybe 10-foot diameter, and the buttress at the bottom can be up to 30 feet long. So this tree grows very, very quickly, emerges through the canopy. It always has that typical, stereotypical crescent on the top, so you can see a kapok tree from a long ways away. But this tree is the ultimate in getting up to the canopy as fast as possible. Some trees can't grow that fast though, so they have other ways to do it. Like the next tree doesn't go from the bottom up, but it goes from the top down. So it starts at the canopy. And this is the strangler fig. Strangler fig is going to start its life as a seed in a fig, eaten by a bird, maybe a primate, and then it's going to go through the digestive system, the seed being unharmed, it's going to be defecated, and hopefully that bird's going to defecate it, it's going to land in the niche of a tree, very, very tall, and hopefully it's going to be moist, maybe some moss, maybe some decayed wood, and that seed's going to germinate. And once that seed germinates, it's going to send these roots all the way down. Periodically, those roots are going to bed into the tree to get nutrients, but their goal is to hit the rainforest floor. And once they hit the rainforest floor, it's game over, because those roots are going to get bigger and stronger, and eventually they're going to kill that host tree. They're not going to be, that host tree will not be able to bring nutrients up from the soil through the small portion between the trunk and the bark, and the tree's going to die, it's going to decay, and we're going to be left with a healthy but hollow strangler fig tree. So we get one that starts at the bottom of the kapok, one that starts at the top, which is strangler fig. But there's other ways. Sometimes they do it with the help of other animals. This is a tangarana tree, and these are my two guides I just had in Peru. But if you notice all the way around the tree is right up and down here. It's a young one. But if you notice all the way around, there's nothing growing. Almost like somebody took Roundup and sprayed it. Because if you're a tree, the last thing you want is vines, like a fig, the fig tree, strangler fig taking you over, or even other vines just getting close to you, other trees getting close to you, encroaching on you. So this tree's got a great relationship with the tangarana ants. The tangarana ants are going to live in hollows of this tree. The trunk is hollow, the branches are hollow, and it's sectioned almost like bamboo. But so the tangarana ants are going to come in, they're going to drill a little hole, they're going to live in there, and they're going to take in aphid larvae. And they're going to move those aphid larvae in and around the tree to safe places. The aphid larvae are going to produce milk from which the ants live. The ants are not going to hurt the tree. So they get their food from the aphid larvae, and then the ants, in return for that nice accommodation, they are going to kill any vine or any other ants that try to take over that tree. So if anything tries to grow near that tree, those ants are going to come down, nip that plant, kill it, and allow this tree to have a nice big swath from which to grow. So it's a fantastic interrelationship between the ants, the aphids, and the tree itself. Now we've heard if Muhammad didn't get to the mountain, move the mountain to Muhammad. I think there's an expression like that. Sometimes, if the tree can't get to the light, well, the tree will move. This is a walking palm, and that's another one of my guides. And it sounds funny, but this tree moves, this tree walks. If you'll notice, right in the middle, there is no trunk going all the way to the ground. It's nothing but roots all at an angle, but nothing in the middle. Now let's suppose that this tree is here, and there was a big kapok tree over to the right. That tree lived 200 some odd years. That tree died, fell, opened up a big cavity of light. This tree's going to want to try to get there. The same way that sunflowers follow the sun during the day, this tree is going to send out more and more roots on the side closer to the sunbreak, and these roots on this side are going to atrophy, die, and fall off. This tree can move about 20 centimeters or 6 inches, half a foot, a year. So it literally is a walking tree. Incredible, incredible stuff. Now, of course, if there's adaptations to obtain food, you better hope there's adaptations to avoid becoming food. Because once you become food, you cease to exist anymore. So there's some great, great animals. The first one is a wonderful animal. This is the Jesus Christ lizard, or the green basilisk lizard. And this guy and this is either a female or a young male, because there's no crest. The males have a big crest. I saw this guy in Ecuador. And I've got a video coming up, but this animal can actually walk on water. So if it gets threatened, it's going to run across the water, which is much faster than swimming. That's why it's called the Jesus Christ lizard, walking on water. Absolutely. Aptly named, right? Absolutely. So I downloaded this one from National Geographic. I wouldn't possibly be able to photograph what these wonderful folks did. So here's our basilisk lizard. And in a second or two, we're going to see a nice snake saying, boy, that basilisk lizard would be really, really tasty. Let me have a bite. And the basilisk is going to see him, and then it's going to start moving. It has webbed feet, very big webbed feet, and it cups them. And when it runs, it is pushing down. Every step is pushing down, and it's pushing down a bubble of air. So it's physically walking on those bubbles of air, not on the water. But amazing that it has the adaptation to create those bubbles, push them down the water, quickly bicycle, and then run away. This animal can run about 5 feet per second, and it can run for about 15 to 20 feet. So getting across a small stream, no problem for these animals. Incredible. Mimicry is a big way to prevent getting eaten. And this is a bullseye moth, and it's got these big blue, blackish blue spots. There are many birds who would love to eat a moth, but if they're going to see this and it's going to be a little dark, they're going to think that those big spots are owl's eyes. And that bird is not going to go on near an owl, because that bird will then become food for the owl. So just by having those spots on its back gives it one leg up on trying to survive. Now we're going to get back to the bullseye moth in a second. But first I want to talk about the difference between poisonous and venomous. When I work at the zoo and I bring a snake out to a program, somebody in the audience says, "Is that snake poisonous?" And I will tell them, to the best of my knowledge, there is not a poisonous snake in the entire world. I'm sure there's probably an exception somewhere. But poisonous, from the scientific point of view, means you have to eat it. If the animal has fangs or a stinger and bites you and puts that stuff into you, that's venomous. So there's a distinction. Poisonous, a toadstool can be poisonous. Poison dart frogs we're going to see a little bit later. Those are poisonous. If you think Socrates, remember hemlock? He drank the hemlock. And in Sleeping Beauty's apple, I guess you could call it poisonous. Venomous, again, means it's injected, either through fangs or through a stinger. And only about 10% of the snake species in the world are venomous. Every spider is venomous. Every spider in the world. We're going to talk about that. Scorpions are venomous, and there's this really crazy bullet ant. We're going to talk about that. Those are venomous. So when they bite you or sting you, that's how they inject. So let's get back to that bullseye moth. This is the caterpillar of the bullseye moth. Beautiful little guy. He's probably about that big. But every one of these little tentacles here, or cold scoli as they're called, are venomous. If you were to just touch one of those, you're going to be in pain for about 5-6 hours. There was a young lady, this was on the east coast or west coast of Costa Rica, and I was there with a couple from France, and their young daughter, before any of us could stop, saw that and went to touch it. And she was just in pain, just from touching it, she was in pain for the rest of the afternoon. So if you're an animal and you're thinking about eating that for lunch, if you do a little taste, your mouth's gonna be on fire. And that's gonna be good enough to keep you alive. This next animal takes poison up to the max. And this is a marine toad, also called a cane toad. And if you look where that blue arrow is, it's got those big bumps, almost like shoulder pads on a football player. Those are the parotoid glands. And the parotoid glands contain a lot of poison. So again, poisonous, you eat it. This animal is poisonous at the egg stage, the tadpole stage, not young adult, but a full adult, totally very, very poisonous. If a crocodile ate a full marine toad, probably would kill the crocodile. These animals can get up to about 4 pounds, the size of a Thanksgiving plate. And the reason they can get so big is unlike most frogs and most toads will eat live insects only. This guy will eat anything he can shove in his mouth, whether it's a live insect, a dead insect, plant material, small lizard, small mammal. If he can shove it in his mouth, he's going to eat it. Now, there's a big problem in Australia with marine toads, and it started about the 1930s. There were some sugarcane plantation owners, and they were getting infested with something called the cane beetle. And that cane beetle was eating their crop. So these bright men, and they were men, so you ladies, can't blame you at all. But these men thought, oh, there's this marine toad in Guam, and toads eat insects, so let's import them into Australia. They'll eat all the insects, and everything will be great. Well, it didn't exactly work out. One, the marine toads are down here. They can't jump very tall. The cane beetle's up on top of the cane. So the marine toads didn't eat the cane beetles. But more important than that, there are no natural predators in Australia. As of the year 2000, they estimated over 1.5 billion with a B. Incredible, they will never get rid of them. And the way that this animal, the poison helps this animal, it doesn't necessarily help the individual animal. If somebody was to eat this animal, especially if it was smaller, let's say a dog or a crocodile or a cat was to eat a marine toad, one of two things is going to happen. Either that cat or that crocodile is going to get very, very sick, maybe it will survive, and if it survives, next time it goes to look for something to eat, it's going to say, no, I'm not going to eat one of these guys. Or that crocodile is going to die, in which case he definitely won't eat one of these. So the poison in these animals is to protect the species, not the individual animal, as opposed to the caterpillar we saw, which that venom is there to protect that individual animal. Next animal is poison dart frogs. You've probably heard of poison dart frogs. The indigenous people will take them and rub their arrows on their back to shoot their arrows when they kill monkeys. These animals are about the size of the top part of your thumb. I was amazed that my guides were able to find these, but these guys have eyes like you don't know what. They are also poisonous. And again, the animals, they're very brightly colored. That's kind of an indicator saying, I am brightly colored, I'm probably poisonous, you probably don't want to eat me. Now, in addition to just being poisonous, these are really cool animals. Did any of the gentlemen here ever get a t-shirt or a mug saying Father of the Year, Grandfather of the Year? Anybody? A couple? Okay. Well, this guy's got you beat because this is really the Father of the Year. What he will do is after the eggs are fertilized, he will find each an individual tadpole. And he's going to bring those up on his back, and he's going to put them into a bromeliad plant, an epiphyte. And right here, it's kind of a hollow, and water will collect in there. So he's going to drop his tadpole into that bromeliad, and then periodically come and drop dead insects in there to feed the tadpole. And then by the time that tadpole's an adult and they can crawl out, then Dad's job is done, and that tadpole will take on the next generation. But definitely Father of the Year.
Only the father does it?
Only the father. Moms don't do it. No Mom of the Year t-shirts for these guys. Only the father. Sometimes, to protect yourself from getting eaten, it just helps being stinky. And this is a great example. This is a Watson bird. Almost looks prehistoric, doesn't it? Like it came from the Fred Flintstone era. This animal is one of the few totally herbivorous animals, birds. He only eats leaves. He has a special system in his stomach, like a cow's, like a crop, but the biology of his digestive system makes him smell. His meat smells, the bird smells. They're awful smelling birds. So very few animals, unless they're really, really hungry, are going to attack a Watson bird. Now, we've talked about being adaptations to eat, adaptations to not get eaten, also need adaptations to reproduce, because if you can't reproduce your species for the next generation, your species is gone. So we've got just a couple examples. The first is this palm tree. If you're a tree and you're growing fruit to hold those seeds for the next generation, the last thing you want to do is have that fruit eaten by birds or mammals before the seed is viable. In the rainforest, monkeys, for example, who love these fruit, they can't wait around waiting for the fruit to ripen. Because if there's a monkey sitting there and going, oh, there's a nice banana tree over there, but those bananas are still a little green. I want to wait for those bananas to get yellow. Well, by the time you wait for that, some other monkey's going to have eaten those bananas. So they try to get the fruit as soon as it's edible. But that might not be good for the seeds. They may not be viable yet. So this tree puts out a bunch of tall, sharp, very strong spikes that's going to prohibit any monkey from climbing up there and getting that fruit, those nuts. When they are fully ripe and the seeds are viable, those palm nuts are going to drop to the ground, and animals like agoutis and rats are going to pick them up, eat them, take them to pulp somewhere farther in the jungle, defecate, and those seeds will fall out, and then they'll reproduce. But not all the palm nuts that make it to the forest floor will get germinated. Isn't this a pretty little guy? This is the South American palm weevil. And the South American palm weevil is going to look for those palm nuts that have been sitting on the rainforest floor for too long, and they're a little bit rotted, so they're pretty soft, and she's going to drill a whole couple holes through that seed, through that nut, and deposit her eggs. Those eggs will hatch inside the nut, and they will turn into larvae, and eventually, if undisturbed, they will eat their way out of the nut and go onto the forest floor. One thing that's happened in the last couple hundred years is that the indigenous people have found these, and you can see the larvae right up here, there's two in that. The indigenous people like to eat these. They will find the nuts, they will chop it in half with their machete, and they say it tastes like jungle coconut. I've been to the Amazon 4 times, and this last time they finally shamed me into eating one. And I gotta tell you, it doesn't taste like coconut. And to put this live thing in your mouth and you chew on it, and then it just gushes. Yeah. So I don't know where they get coconut from, but you know, if you go there, you don't have to do it. Take it from me. You do not, in fact, you don't want to do it. Okay. Now, this little animal, we have one at the zoo, but I didn't get a picture of any babies, so I stole this from the internet. This is a short-tailed opossum. Now, this is an animal that has a very short lifespan, 2 years. This animal is an incredible source of food for snakes and birds of prey and marine toads and cats and lots of animals. So if you've got an animal that has a very short lifespan and is a very good food source for other animals, how do you keep that species going? Well, this animal's mastered it through reproduction. This animal can have 13 babies at a time. It's a marsupial. It does not have a pouch the way you think a kangaroo does, but a marsupial just means that you have an undeveloped baby that has to develop outside of the womb. So she has 13 mammary glands, so she can have 13 babies at a time, and they've got to hold on for about 5 to 7 weeks to be able to make it. Now, we talked about the dart frog was father of the year. This is definitely not mom of the year. She can have 6 litters a year, so she can have almost 100 babies a year. But when these little babies are on her mammary glands, she's doing her stuff. She's out looking for food. These are carnivores. They eat insects. They'll eat small lizards. So when she's out looking for food, one of her babies falls off. I had 13. Now I got 12. Maybe I got 11. It doesn't really matter because another 6 weeks I'm going to have another batch. So Mother Nature allows these animals, the species, to survive just by lots and lots of reproduction. Okay, question time again. You're all familiar with Curious George, right? How many people have read Curious George to their grandkids or their kids? Raise a hand. Keep your hands up. How many people here have said something to the effect, oh, isn't that a cute little monkey? Smart little monkey, cute little monkey. Well, Curious George, you've been lying. I don't know how to tell you, you've been lying. Curious George is not a monkey. Curious George is missing something that all monkeys have. That's called a tail. In the primate world, if you've got a tail, you're a monkey. If you don't have a tail, you're an ape. So next time you read it, you gotta tell your grandson, oh, what a cute little ape. But I love monkeys. Primates are my favorite, and that's why I go to the Amazon. And we're just gonna scroll through a couple of these. There are over 150 primates, unique primates in the Amazon jungle. I've seen probably 25. We're just gonna go through a couple, so I won't bore you too much. These are night owls. I have seen these, but I've never gotten a picture as well as National Geographic. These are the only nocturnal monkey in the rainforest. Big eyes, they can see at night, and being around at night, going out at night is much safer because it's much more difficult for predators to eat them. They're about this big, they live in hollows of trees, usually 3 or 4 or 5 monkeys at a time. But the only nocturnal monkey in the Amazon rainforest. The coppery teeny monkey, and they're about this big, and the reason I like these guys is they're monogamous. Most monkeys are polygamous, and who's ever available, that's what's on the table today. But these animals are monogamous, and they're also affectionate. When they're sitting in a tree, they will wrap their tails around their partners, just kind of like us holding hands. So they're pretty cute animals. I like them for that reason. This is a Saki monkey, but to the best of the knowledge of the gentleman who's I went to an Amazon research center, he thinks this is a still undefined Saki monkey. You know, they're still finding all sorts of animals in the Amazon that have never been defined, but to find a mammal that's not been totally identified yet is something amazing. So he has a team of biologists at this Amazon Research Center looking to try to determine what type of, if this is a known Saki monkey or if this is a brand new species. And again, to identify a brand new mammal is just absolutely unheard of nowadays. This beautiful critter is the bald, red-faced urakari. And the brighter his red is, and they're very, very endangered, by the way, due to loss of habitat, but the brighter that red face is, the more attractive he or she, I don't know which one this is, more attractive they are to the opposite sex. And the way that works is, we'll call it a he, if he's got a very, very bright face, that's going to show that he's healthy. And that female urakari is going to say, I want to mate, but I want to mate with somebody healthy because I want my children to be healthy. If he's got a very, very pale face, that female's going to say, you don't look that healthy to me. I'm going to go, I'm going to go to the next bar and look for the next animal. The cutest monkeys that I've ever seen are these little guys, pygmy marmosets. They're called pocket monkeys. Smallest monkey in the world. They're about this big. They weigh about as much as a stick of butter. Tiny little guys. They eat sap. They've got tiny little teeth. They're going to bite into the tree, let the sap come down, and then they're going to lick that up. The unfortunate thing for these animals is because they're so cute, people think, oh, they probably make great pets. So poachers are going to come into the rainforest, kill the mom, harvest the babies, and send them out. Primates make terrible pets. They're cute when they're young, but as soon as they reach sexual maturity, any primate, they're going to be impossible to take care of. And then they wind up in rescue centers or dead. We're going to quickly go through just some other fun animals in the rainforest. And these are the world's largest rodents. A rodent means your teeth are always growing. So rats are rodents, mice are rodents, chipmunks are rodents. Their teeth always grow, so they've always got to be gnawing something. So these animals can grow, what do I have my notes here? 2 feet tall, about 170 pounds. Capybaras. Big, big rodents. They have a very unique way of eating. They're herbivores. They will eat grass, but grass doesn't have a whole lot of nutrition. It's very difficult to get to the nutrition of the grass. So they're going to eat the grass, they're going to regurgitate it, and they're going to eat it again. And that allows them to get the maximum nutrition out of that grass. Next animal is the slowest animal in the rainforest. This is the three-toed sloth. It's also an herbivore. It eats leaves, and because there's not a whole lot of nutrition in leaves, it has a very, very slow metabolism. It's going to come down from that tree once a week. Tough to tell here, but there's a little bit of a nub of a tail. He's hanging upside down here, so there's a little nub of a tail. So once a week, he's going to come down, going to dig that tail into the dirt. He's going to defecate. He's going to cover it back up and climb back up in that tree. And scientists think that's his way of re-energizing, re-fertilizing the trees in which he lives. So one helps the other. These animals are great swimmers, and they're going to go into the water, and when they're in the water, they're going to get covered with all sorts of stuff in the water, including algae. Climb back up to the tree, the algae is going to react with the sun, grow more algae, and it's going to be camouflage for him, and it's going to be a whole ecosystem for all sorts of other insects. We go from the slowest animal to the largest animal. This is the largest mammal, land mammal in Central America, the Bard's tapir. He's related to horses and rhinos, and that's because he has 3 toes on his rear feet. He's got that funny looking proboscis, kind of like an elephant, and he can move that around left and right to be able to grab the leaves. He's also an herbivore. This animal will eat about 100 different types of leaves in a day. Most leaves have some kind of toxin in them. If he was just to concentrate on one leaf, he would build up all that toxin from that one individual plant and pass away. So by eating leaves from 100 different plants, he's going to keep himself safe and still get the nutrition he needs. It's one of the prettier animals. This is a tamanduá, or lesser anteater. And these ants, as the name implies, they eat ants, they eat termites. In the dry season, they're going to eat termites because termites have more moisture in their body. In the wet season, they're going to eat more ants. And they've got characteristics similar to that armadillo. They've got very, very sharp claws to tear open the anthills and the termite mounds. And they're also going to have that long, sticky tongue that's going to come out and slurp up those insects, and the very bristly hair to protect them from those insects biting. These are also called the stinkers of the rainforest because they can emit a spray like a skunk, but it's supposed to be about 4 times worse than a skunk. So you want to give these guys some notice, or some distance. This animal's called the wolf of the jungle, the river wolf of the jungle. It's a giant river otter. These animals can get up to 70 pounds, 6 feet long. They're related to our river otters and our sea otters up in our country, but much, much larger. And they will eat about 8 to 10 pounds of fish a day. And you will go there, and I've had the pleasure of watching these, and you can hear them crunching with those incredible teeth. Very, very endangered because they've been poached for their waterproof skin. So there's only about 2,000 to 3,000 of these left in the natural range. This last animal we're going to talk about is evolution to its best. Whoa, where do I went the wrong way? Whoops, I went the wrong way. Sorry about that. There we go. Evolution to the highest. It's a pink river dolphin. I did not take this picture. When you see these animals in the water, you see them for half a second. They come up, get a boom, boom. I've never been able to get a photograph, so I stole this from a writer. 16 to 19 million years ago, these were saltwater animals. They lived in this ocean off the coast of South America. And that ocean had encroached on South America, covered up almost all the area that the Amazon currently takes care of. These animals went in there, plenty of food, that's great. But then slowly and slowly, about 11 million years ago, through tectonic forces, the Andes Mountains started to rise. And once those Andes Mountains rose high enough, these animals were trapped. Over those millions of years, with snowfall, melt, the Amazon then turned from salt water to fresh water. And these animals adapted all that way to be able to live in a saltwater or a freshwater environment. They also have another great adaptation in that their vertebrae are not fused together. These animals can bend 180 degrees, which makes them perfect to be able to swim through the branches and trunks of the trees when those trees are flooded by the annual floods. So very, very easy to move around those trees.
How do they get pink? Any idea?
I don't. I do not know. Some scientists think it is the more times that they've been injured, they get more pink, and that's a sign that they're strong, but I do not know, I'm sorry. No visit to the Amazon would be complete without creepy crawlers, because there's lots of them. And these are probably one of the most dangerous. These are bullet ants. They're a little bit more than an inch, and they've got a big stinger down here. And they say if you get stung with one of those bullet ants, you have an equivalent pain of being shot. And that pain lasts about 24 hours. Some of the indigenous people, and this is done by Penn State University, as a rite of manhood, will collect bullet ants, they'll smoke them to anesthetize them, and they'll put them in these gloves, put that gloves on the kids' hands that are trying to become a man, and then slowly those are going to wake up. And they have to hold them there for 10 minutes. They're not allowed to wince or cry. By the time they take their hands out, they are totally inflamed, and that pain again is going to last for 24 hours. Personally, I don't think I'd want to be a man in that environment. And you can't go to the Amazon without seeing these wonderful tarantulas. Earlier I said all spiders are venomous. Spiders are venomous because they can't eat. They have no teeth. They can't eat anything. So what they do is they have their fangs and they have that venom, and usually that venom is only strong enough to kill their prey, which is an insect. but they will kill that prey with their venom. That venom will also completely dissolve the inside of that insect, and then they will suck it out. So the venom is both a killer and it's a digestive method, it's an external digestive method. A lot of people say they don't like tarantulas because it's big and hairy. Well, that's not hairs, those are bristles. Think of a porcupine. If this animal gets threatened by a bird, for example, or a snake, first thing it's going to do is rise up on 4 of its legs and try to look as big as it can. If that doesn't work, it's going to start thrashing its arms, and those bristles are going to come flying out, hopefully into the eyes, the nose, or the mouth of the predator, and hopefully that's going to scare it away. There is a tarantula, a Goliath bird-eating tarantula, that is big enough to eat a small bird. Again, by digesting it from the outside. This next is a fishy story that you will hear from any guide down in the Amazon, but it's never been documented. This is a kangaroo fish. It's a member of the catfish family. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing. But every guide will tell you that if you walk into the Amazon or swim in the Amazon and you urinate, this animal is going to come up your urethra, and with barbs, it's going to stick itself there. There have been no documented case of this, although just the last time I asked my guide, about that fish, oh yeah, my uncle did it. That happened to my uncle. So whether it's really true and this hasn't been documented, I don't pee in the Amazon. Maybe. Some insects are useful for the individual. This is an ectocon ant. You're walking through the rainforest, you cut yourself, there's no urgent care anywhere around. So if you're lucky enough to find these ants, you're going to take that ant and you're going to put it right on both sides of that wound, let it bite you, and then you're going to rip the body off. And then the head and the mandibles are going to stay there, and that's going to possibly save your life from bleeding to death. Okay, so we're almost done here. We've had some fun looking at different animals and plants, but now we got to talk about the dark side and apologize for Mr. Yeah, Bela Lugosi, that's it. We got to apologize for Bela Lugosi for using him here. The Amazon is an incredible place. It contains 1/5 of the world's fresh water, produces 20% of the world's oxygen, contains more than 10% of the world's animal species, 40,000 plant species, 2.5 million insect species. It helps to control the planet's weather patterns. Something that important, you would think we would take care of it with our life's breath, right? No. This is what we do in the Amazon. We're looking for timber. We're looking for gold. We're looking for gas. We're looking for oil. We are tearing apart the Amazon at an incredible, incredible rate. Every minute of every day, we lose about 5 football fields of the Amazon. You put that over a day's period, that's 300, or an hour, that's 300 football fields an hour. 7,200 football fields a day, 15 square miles a day we're losing the Amazon rainforest. Over a course of 1 year, over 5,000 square miles, the size of Connecticut. It is not an infinite source. We have to do better maintaining the Amazon because it's so important for our world. And what can you folks do to help? You can do a lot. You can email your legislators. You can snail mail your legislators. When we talk to the zoo, we always talk the 3 R's. You can practice reducing, recycling, and reusing so that we're not using up resources. You can donate money to different organizations in the Amazon who will then use that money to buy prime Amazon rainforest, and then that money will also is protected from poachers and from timber people. Or you can visit, as I do, you can visit the Amazon as an eco-tourist, and you're pumping money into that country in a way that's not harming the Amazon forest. So many ways that we can actually help. And with that, I think I took longer than I was supposed to, but I do thank you all very, very much for your time and for your attention. If anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them. We've got time for questions. If anybody has any questions, I can try to answer. Again, I'm not a trained biologist. Yes, please.
I think I understood the spider. You said the spider doesn't eat.
A spider has no teeth. It can't eat. It can't take a bite of a hamburger. It only has a little mouth and it sucks. So when it kills it by putting its fangs in, it injects venom, and then that venom will liquefy that insect, and then it will just suck all the insides out. But every spider is venomous. Daddy longlegs are more venomous than most tarantulas. But don't go killing all the daddy longlegs, because daddy longlegs fangs are so small, they can't puncture our skin. They're great at taking care of aphids, but again, their venom is stronger than most tarantulas. Yes, Julie?
Have you ever been bitten by anything?
I have been bitten at the zoo by tarantulas, I've been bitten by lots and lots of snakes, by lots of parrots, but never anything in the Amazon, no. No, the guides keep you safe. Yes, please.
There's a book about a explorer, an English explorer. back in
Fawcett.
the- Huh?
Fawcett.
So you, maybe you can elaborate a little about him. You know anything about him?
Well, Fawcett was an English, he was a military, I think he was a colonel, so Colonel Fawcett, in England, somewhere around the turn of the century. Big outdoors man. And he wanted to do something that no one else had done. So he went to South America after his military service, and he mapped a bunch of different rivers. But that wasn't good enough for him, because Colonel Fawcett had heard all these rumors about the city of gold. The lost city of Z, the city of gold, where all that gold from the Inca Empire ended up in the Amazon jungle. And he was determined to find it. And he went there with his last voyage, he went there with his son, his son's friend, and a couple other men. And they were looking for it, and they were never heard from again. They think they got killed by indigenous peoples. There is no lost city in the Amazon. And there's no gold in the Amazon, but Fawcett went looking there. That was his last thing. He wanted to find that lost city and get all the gold. But he was a National Geographic recognized explorer, and he got the medals from National Geographic. His sons also went on to do exploration, the one that didn't die in the jungle. Yes, sir.
When you take these tours, I know like going down the Amazon River and everything, now, but as far as through the jungle, how do you arrange?
The way that I do it is you go, there are different lodges, many of them are run by the indigenous peoples that own the rights to that. In southern Peru, there's a thing called Manu, and only the Machichenga tribe is allowed to erect any building inside that park. So they will run these very rustic lodges. Your room consists of a bed with a mosquito net, and if you're lucky, there's a small table next to it. There's a cold water shower down the jungle, and there's bathrooms, eco bathrooms down the jungle as well. And they take care of your food, and they are your guides. So they'll take you in the morning for a boat ride, take you in the afternoon for a walk through the forest. At nighttime, you put the lights on your head, and you go for a short walk around the lodge. But I always go to lodge-based, because it's easier, you see much more. You got much more opportunity, because if you're on a boat going down, you can see a lot, but the animals are hiding. The jungle, it's not like being on a safari in Africa where you got a herd of elephants and, oh yeah, there's 30 elephants out there, they're easy to find. It can take these guides 20 minutes, an hour to find an animal. My lovely bride over here went with me one time, and we were walking through the rainforest. It's pouring rain, it's hot, it's humid, we hadn't seen anything in 2 hours, which is not really uncommon, and she goes to me, she goes, Joe, I could be in Florence sipping a cappuccino right now. She has not come back to the Amazon with me. So I do land-based, usually indigenous tribes. The last time I went to an Amazon research center with biologists who run it. Again, very sparse accommodations, but you're right there in the forest. Please.
I don't know that you're gonna like this
Please.
question.
Oh, any questions, good.
We spotted snakes around the pool yesterday.
Okay.
Somebody got a shovel, tried to kill them unsuccessfully.
Okay.
Is there anything to get rid of them?
No.
Just let them
Joe, do
be.
you
Let
wanna-
them be and give them distance. Again, only about 10% of snake species are venomous, but I'm not gonna tell you, red next to black versus black. Now, I'm not gonna try to guess which one it is. Snakes are gonna be more afraid of you than we. Again, they can feel our footsteps. So they're just gonna go their way. They're not gonna hurt you. They can't eat you. Just leave them alone. Yeah.
Hawks will often go after.
Sorry? Hawks, yes, and that's great. Hawks need to eat.
Yeah, they'll go after the snake.
Question, please.
We had a snake in our yard, and my husband is an ecologist, and he has a compost pile, and he gets hair from the barber shop. And we had a snake, and he put hair, he shooed the snake
Okay.
away, and then outlined it with this barber hair, and the snake didn't come back.
Oh, geez. Well, there you
Because they
go.
don't like to go through the hair.
Oh, okay then.
So you can keep them away without killing them.
But again, most snakes are not venomous, but 100% we tell people at the zoo when we do programs, if you see a snake in the woods, just leave it alone. Look with your eyes, don't try to pick it up. It's not good for you, it's definitely not good for the snake. Yeah, well, they eat, they'll eat mice, voles, moles, yeah.
The geckos just scattered.
Well, yeah, because the geckos are great food for a snake, absolutely, yeah. So if you don't want geckos, maybe just bring in a bunch of snakes. Yes, please, sir.
Army has a jungle warfare center in Panama.
Okay.
And it was down there with the Marines, and we weren't too busy, so they sent us out to the jungle warfare.
Oh, how cool.
Absolutely. And the Army folks, who were mainly Panamanian, put on a feast for us. And they put out little hors d'oeuvre size bits of meat.
Okay.
And they told us that we were having some native chicken.
Tastes like chicken, right?
It was well done snake.
I think a lot of people eat snake.
Tasted pretty
I bet it
good.
tasted pretty good. Yeah, absolutely.
Chicken.
It tastes like chicken. Were you down in the Darien rainforest, right north of Columbia?
No, this was north of Cologne. on the
Okay.
east
Okay.
side of the,
Yeah. I think the rainforest is fascinating, as you can tell. Yes, sir.
You know, as far as the dissipation of the rainforest, isn't Brazil, some of these trying to cut back a little bit in the destruction? I mean,
Well, all the countries are trying. Peru probably has the best record. Brazil just elected a very right-wing president, and his thought is, if there's gold, there's oil, there's timber, we're going to get it. And darn the environment and darn the indigenous people. So we are in a very scary time with Brazil. They were doing much, much better. But it's gonna be, we're gonna see what happens with this new administration in Brazil. Peru, like I said, Peru and Bolivia are doing very, and Ecuador are doing very, very good. Because they can make money ecotourism. I go in there, and from what their wages are, I'm paying a lot of money. You know, it's, $150 a night maybe for a night in the jungle. To them, that's a ton of money, and that money goes a long way. And I'm not hurting anything. I'm not killing the rainforest. The next person can come up and use the exact same rainforest unused. But Brazil, right now, we're all watching, and it doesn't look like it's gonna be great with the current administration, the new administration. Thank you, folks, very, very much.